Okay, in this video I'm going to show some small changes I've made that make a big difference in this project, which I'm calling Bad Vibes. First thing, I recorded a couple pieces of music that I'm going to use as theme music and gameplay music, so you'll hear that going on in the background. Sorry, not sorry, I gotta go with what I got, and I'm not that great. So you start off, you're going to evaluate your current state along the pleasure, arousal, dominance, or PAD scales. Then you're going to go and evaluate your motivational state along the existence, relatedness, and growth scale. This information is applied to the model of yourself that's in the game. That is the long rectangular object there. And then you start collecting these points by collecting actions. Each pill-shaped object is an action that you define in the Actions tab. We've gone over that before. I'll go over it briefly again. As you collect those actions, you'll see in the user interface toward the top, the ERG and PAD values change. When you are within the thresholds, you've reached a state of equilibrium. Once you reach equilibrium in all these different measures, you will win the game. If you lose health or if you interact with the rectangular object before you're ready, you will lose the game. I had to custom make these progress bars, and just a little bit of insight as to what kind of work this takes. The class that I had to write to make these custom progress bars that go from 0 in the center to negative 100 at the left and positive 100 at the right, it's over 1,000 lines of code. Some of that is because I tried making it go vertical as well as horizontal, and I added the thresholds, and there's a lot to it, obviously, but it's a lot of work. But I think it more accurately reflects what the goal is. You know, the goal is not to just increase your pleasure so much that you're overwhelmed with pleasure. It's about reaching an equilibrium, a contentment, rather than happiness. Now, I just went and lost the game on purpose, and here's the results page. This shows the total number of points you collected along the PAD and ERG spectrums. The absolute most I collected in that short session was 735 pleasure points. I didn't collect as much relatedness points. It goes through the list of actions that you collected, which is somewhat random, but the point is that you go around and search for specific ones, and then at the bottom it makes some recommendations. It says these actions increase your pleasure and decrease your relatedness. It also makes suggestions in terms of try to think of actions that increase your relatedness and don't focus so much on your pleasure. I want to expand on that quite a bit. I'm thinking about using a behavior tree approach that takes into account your personality profile, because someone who is high in introversion is going to benefit from a totally different approach than someone who is high in extroversion. And the same is true for the other 4 personality spectrums. So compared to what I want to do, this is a bit rudimentary, but I think it is a good starting point. I'm going to make it more visually appealing, and this is always a work in progress. Even once I publish it, I'm still going to keep working on it, changing things, changing the way it looks, making it more interactive, and making it more specific. This is the Actions tab, so this is where you go through and you edit or add actions. You can delete actions as well. And this is the pool of actions that those pill-shaped objects pull from. So I'm pretty high on the introvert scale. I don't really care so much about having a large friend group, but I do have a few very close friends, and I'm very close with my family, and I value those relationships quite a bit. So that's kind of an example of how a more robust scoring and recommendation system might adapt to my specific preferences. But I also wonder if it's kind of self-correcting given the whole idea of this project, because I will rate my experience, like if I'm playing with my daughters for an hour outside, I derive a great deal of relatedness, satisfaction from that, and I would rate that activity or that action very high on the relatedness scale. So I think it's inherent in this project that those personality differences are accounted for because it's so customizable. And these tools are meant to be anything that you do in your life. It can incorporate everything from sleeping to eating, all the way to things you might learn in therapy, like DBT skills, CBT skills, deep breathing exercises, things like that. So it really is intended to not only include things that are clinically suggested to you by a therapist, but also just what in your life do you have in your toolbox to benefit you and to bring you to that equilibrium point. For example, what I find is that I have a lot of actions that focus on my personal growth. I like learning new things, teaching myself how to code, researching these topics, developing surveys, etc., etc. But I don't have a whole lot of things that focus on my basic needs for existence. I don't sleep very well. I eat well, but I don't eat a lot, those kinds of things. So I've learned, or at least it's been very clearly highlighted to me, that I need to focus more on those activities. And we're switching over to the surveys. This is something I really want to develop going forward. We've gone over what these basic personality surveys are, but I want to expand this to include things like risk assessments that would link a person to very important resources like the 988 suicide helpline number if they scored highly on a risk assessment. I'm also very curious, probably because I have to interact with certain types of people in my day-to-day life, very curious about assessing for other personality factors like Machiavellianism, narcissism, borderline personality disorder, things like that. I don't know how effective that is in a self-rating scale because I think it's inherent in those traits that individuals just don't have that level of insight and or they are not willing to be honest about it. But I am so curious to see if that can be assessed in a self-survey fashion. I'm doubtful, but curious. So again, I will probably go down some personal growth rabbit hole in researching how to assess for that without making it overt. So then, we go back to the actions, the results. This is the rules page. I got to make this look better. And these are the profiles, your self-assessed profile versus your survey assessment. None of the surveys are complete, so this is all rating zeros. But the scale goes from -100 to 100. And this just selects what profile is applied to the model of yourself, which is that rectangular object. You can do your self-rating profile, the survey profile, or just a random profile that assigns random values to the ocean traits. So now I have a way to win the game, I have a way to lose the game, and I'm really happy with the progress bars. I think, again, they more accurately reflect the goal of this project and the concepts behind it. I forgot to mention that the last time I made a video about this, each action pill had spheres inside that were different colors that correlated to the colors of the PAD and ERG colors. The size of those spheres represented how many points each action had for each of those traits. And I've changed that to letters, PAD, ERG, and the size of those letters corresponds to how significant the values in that action are. I want to change it a little bit. I initially tried to make it look, sort of like a spiral or something like that, and then I just distributed it the way that it looks right now. But I want to make each one horizontal, and if it is a positive value, it'll be above the horizontal line. If it is a negative value, it will be below the horizontal line, but the size will reflect the absolute value. So If it's negative 50, it would be the same size as 50, but it would be below the horizontal to more quickly identify which actions lower values and raise values. And again, I've mentioned this in previous videos, the color of the pills represents the trait that has the highest value. So you know you're getting the most dominance from an orange color pill, you're getting the most growth from a blue color pill, that kind of thing. So thanks for watching, and again, at all costs, avoid the bad vibes.